Story 1. Basil on Schedule. By the fourth week of the Mars run, maintenance aboard the Verdant Mule had settled into the rhythm of weather. Not Earth weather, with rain or wind or cold fronts, but ship weather. The sigh of scrubbers coming off cycle, the soft tick of expansion in the greenhouse panes, the occasional knock of coolant shifting through pipes behind the crew bunks. Mara Velasquez had learned every one of those sounds. She knew which hum meant a fan bearing needed grease, which click meant the nutrient valves were changing lanes, and which silence meant somebody had forgotten to close a panel before dinner. At 0600 ship time, she floated ankle-hooked beneath an irrigation manifold in Nursery Bay 2, tightening a valve that had started misting the basil trays every 19 minutes instead of every 20. 1 minute did not matter to most people. To Basil, 1 minute could become a habit. Across the aisle, Theo Briggs read numbers from a handheld slate while pretending not to snack on one of the contraband cherry tomatoes he had rescued from a cracked stem. "That's evidence," Mara said without looking up. Theo swallowed too quickly. "Evidence of a successful agricultural transport environment. Evidence that Cargo Master Briggs cannot be trusted alone with fruiting plants. Botanically speaking, tomato theft is impossible if the tomato has already detached from its stem. Botanically speaking, you just made that up." Theo tapped the slate with exaggerated dignity. "Cargo regulations are silent on emotional support tomatoes." Mara tightened the valve another eighth of a turn, then waited for the next mist cycle. A silver breath spread across the basil trays, soft enough to cling to the leaves without beating. The plants trembled, their small green faces rising under the grow lights. "There," she said, "Mars gets its basil on schedule." Theo raised both hands in solemn gratitude. "Civilization endures." The nursery bay ran nearly a third of the ship's length, a warm green corridor inside a hall that looked from the outside like a freight elevator welded to a refinery. Rows of seedlings trembled gently in gel beds whenever the maneuvering thrusters corrected their drift. Dwarf apple and fig trees were strapped into padded frames overhead, each one pruned short for Martian greenhouse ceilings. Below them, trays of basil, mint, spinach, amaranth, barley grass, and engineered clover lived under a grid of pale gold lamps. The whole bay smelled faintly of wet leaves, plastic tubing, warm metal, and the ghost of soil. Mara loved that smell. It was not the same as Earth. Nothing sealed in aluminum and composite was the same as Earth, but it was close enough to fool the oldest part of the brain. Close enough to make a person inhale deeper without meaning to. Farther down the bay, Annika Shaw and Lenora Pike worked shoulder to shoulder at the route monitoring station, arguing about music with the bored intensity of people who had already heard every playlist twice. "It is objectively not a good song," Lenora said. Annika did not look up from the route scan. "There is no objective framework for good music. There is when the chorus repeats 37 times. 36. You counted? I suffered accurately." Up front, Captain John Park's voice came over the internal channel. "If anyone plays Blue Moon over Valles again before Mars approach, I will personally vent the speaker into space."
From somewhere behind the pump stack, Malik Okonkwo answered, "Captain, you are welcome to come back and try, provided you bring a replacement filter and stop calling this place the salad hold." "It is a hold," June said. "It is a nursery," Mara said. "It is a cargo-rated agricultural humidity compartment," Lenora said. Theo pointed at her with the slate. "That is why no one lets engineers name anything." The channel clicked with what might have been June sighing. "Just keep the basil alive." "The basil is offended by your limited ambition," Mara said. No one answered immediately. For half a minute, the Verdant Mule carried them in a comfortable kind of quiet. Mara had worked ships where silence felt like waiting for bad news. This silence was different. This was the silence of 6 people doing familiar things well. Theo marking inventory, Lenora watching pressure, Annika frowning at roots as if she could intimidate them into better growth, Malik muttering at a stubborn access hatch, June up front, steady as a bolted chair. For all its size, the verdant mule was not graceful. Its outer hull was squared off and scarred, patched in 3 shades of gray, with radiator fins like old warehouse shutters and cargo locks big enough to swallow a city bus. But inside the nursery, condensation jeweled the glass. Fans whispered through leaves, and every living thing leaned toward artificial morning. A ship built like a brick, carrying orchards. A machine full of small green promises. Mara unhooked her ankle and pushed herself toward the next service rail. She was halfway to the spinach trays when the grow lights flickered. Not a full outage, not even close. Just a blink, quick enough that someone less familiar with the bay might have missed it. Mara stopped anyway. Across the aisle, every seedling had shifted. The motion was tiny, a tremble almost, but it was coordinated. Hundreds of small leaves had tipped toward the same section of ceiling, as if something above them had passed a hand across the light. "Theo," she said. He had already seen it. His joking expression softened into focus. "Yeah." At the route station, Annika looked up. Was that local? Lenora's fingers moved across her panel. Checking. The ship hummed on. Mara pulled herself to the ceiling ladder and clipped her tether to the overhead rail. The affected light panel sat between 2 irrigation branches and a bundle of sensor lines. Its status bead still showed green. Green was not the same as fine. She opened the service cover. A breath of warm electronics drifted out. No scorch, no smell. Panel reads active. "Power draw?" Annika asked. Lenora answered from the station. "Nominal. Slight ripple on grid C, but it corrected." Theo leaned over the basil trays and squinted upward. "Could be a bad lamp driver." "Could be," Mara said. She did not like "could be." "Could be" was where problems hid until they had friends. She reached into the panel and touched the insulated housing around the driver cluster. It vibrated faintly beneath her fingertips. That was normal. The temperature was normal. The status bead was lying politely, which was also normal for old equipment that had learned the diplomatic value of green lights. Then the ship gave a soft knock. Everyone heard that one. It came from somewhere deeper than the nursery, a dull metallic sound traveling through structure. Not loud, not violent, but wrong. Malik's voice came over the channel. "Who dropped what?"
"Nobody in the bay," Mara said. June came on heartbeat later. "Flight deck saw a micro jitter on attitude control. Stand by." The words were calm. That made them worse. Mara closed the service cover, but kept one hand on it. The panel flickered again. This time the bay dimmed for almost a full second. Rows of seedlings vanished into gray shapes. Condensation went black on the glass. Theo's face became a pale oval in the emergency strip light. Then the grow grid returned. Annika swore under her breath. Lenora was already locking her station into diagnostic mode. Grid C power ripple confirmed. Not lamp side, it is upstream. "Define upstream," Theo said. "I would rather not." That was when the first alarm sounded. It was not the evacuation alarm. It was not the pressure alarm. It was one of the small, bureaucratic alarms that ships used when they wanted to be taken seriously but not cause anyone to break their neck pushing off a wall. 3 tones, pause, 3 tones. June's voice came through all compartments. "Crew, this is Park. We have a guidance discrepancy and a thermal control irregularity. No immediate hazard. Report stations and secure loose equipment." Mara looked at Theo. He looked at the tomato in his hand. "Evidence," she said. He put it carefully into a sample bag and clipped it to his belt. "Secured," he said. Nursery Bay 2 transformed in less than a minute. The joking did not stop exactly, but it thinned out. Theo moved down the aisle, locking tray frames and cargo straps. Anika sealed the route station and began a rapid assessment of the most sensitive cultures. Lenora pulled environmental overlays from ship-wide systems, her expression tightening with each layer. Mara worked the overhead service line, closing manual mist valves so a power fluctuation would not drown the herbs if automation stuttered. The ship knocked again. This time it was followed by a faint shiver through the rail. Malik spoke from aft engineering, breath close to the mic. "Captain, I am seeing coolant pressure flutter at pump stack 2. Not failure yet, but it is flirting." "Can you isolate?" June asked. "I can insult it first, then isolate." "Do both." Mara reached the spinach section as the second alarm joined the first. Pressure advisory. Her body knew the sound before her mind finished naming it. Every spacer did. Air was the one thing jokes never defeated. The advisory tone pulsed through the nursery, soft and patient. Soft meant small. Patient meant growing. "Lenora," Mara said. "I see it," Lenora answered. "Nursery Bay 2 is losing 0.02 kilopascals per minute." Theo froze with one hand on a cargo strap. "That sounds tiny." "It is tiny," Lenora said. "I hate tiny things now." "Reasonable." Mara pushed toward the bay hatch and pulled the emergency seal kit from its wall locker. "Do we have a breach location?" "Not yet. Pressure slope is too shallow. Could be a bad hatch gasket, could be microfracture in one of the pane mounts." Could be again. Mara opened the kit. Seal patches, foam line, dye mist, pressure tape, and hand scanner. She tossed the scanner to Theo, who caught it against his chest. "You get port side." "Because I stole the tomato?" "Because I trust you with simple shapes." "That hurts more than the accusation." They split the bay. Mara moved along the starboard greenhouse panes, passing the scanner over brackets, seals, cable holes, and condensation channels. The tool whispered data into her earpiece. Normal, normal, slight thermal rise, normal. The plants shivered in their racks as the ventilation pattern changed. Somewhere aft, Malik cursed at a pump with professional affection. The pressure loss remained small. The guidance alarm did not. June and the ship's computer spoke over one another on the flight channel, numbers clipped and cold. Delta V estimates, star tracker mismatch, attitude solution rejected, manual verification pending. Mara had never liked listening to pilots talk during trouble. They sounded calmest when the universe was being least reasonable. Her scanner chirped at a window mount near the dwarf fig frames. "Got something," she said. Theo looked across the aisle. "Breach? Thermal anomaly. Maybe seal stress." Anika launched herself toward them, catching a rail beside Mara with one hand. "This frame holds the fig stock. I know what it holds. Those are not replaceable." "Neither are we," Lenora called from the station. Mara ran the scanner again. The readings wavered. Not a clean leak, not a gasket failure. The pane mount was cold on one edge and warm on another, as if the structure around it had twisted just enough to make the seal unhappy. She pulled a dye mist bulb from the kit and squeezed it gently near the frame. Blue vapor curled outward, beautiful and useless for half a second. Then it bent. A thin stream slid into the corner seam and vanished. "Found the leak," Mara said. The ship knocked a third time. The knock became a scrape. The scrape became a sound like gravel thrown against a steel door. All alarms on the Verdant Mule woke up at once. The nursery dropped into emergency red. Mara's stomach lifted. The ship rolled beneath her hands. Not far, not fast, but enough to send unsecured tools clattering against rails. Theo caught a tray frame before it could swing into the basil. Anika grabbed the fig supports with both arms as if she could hold the trees in place by will alone. Jun's voice cut through the alarms. All crew, secure. Debris impact confirmed. Repeat, debris impact confirmed. We are intact. We are correcting. Intact. Mara held on to that word. The leaking frame hissed now, still small, but sharper. She slapped pressure tape across the seam. It wrinkled under her glove. Foam, she said. Theo was there before she finished. He passed the canister over. Mara jammed the nozzle into the mount edge and triggered a line of expanding sealant. The foam crawled along the seam, pale and ugly, hardening as it spread. Pressure slope improving, Lenora said. Keep going. Mara kept going. The ship rolled again. Somewhere down bay, a rack latch failed with a bright snap. Anika, shouted Mara. The dwarf fig frame swung loose. It was not heavy in microgravity, but mass did not need weight to break things. The frame drifted out from the wall, carrying 6 young trees and a web of irrigation line. If it twisted, it would tear the feed tubes from the manifold and spray nutrient solution across half the bay. Theo kicked off the opposite rail, caught the frame with both hands, and immediately began moving with it. Bad plan, he said. Mara lunged from the window mount and grabbed his belt tether. Anika caught the lower strut. Together they slowed the frame before it reached the basil. One fig tree slipped from its padding.
Its leaves brushed Mara's faceplate. For one absurd second, all she could see was green. "I have it," Anika said. She did not have it. Malik did. He came through the aft hatch with a filter wrench in one hand and a coil strap in the other, launched himself under the loose frame, and hooked the strap around the support rail with a motion so smooth it looked rehearsed. The frame jerked once, then held. "You are welcome," he said. "You left engineering?" June asked over the channel. "Engineering followed me emotionally." "Malik, Pump Stack 2 is isolated. You have 6 minutes before you need me guilty." "5," Lenora said. "Betrayal." The humor helped. It did not fix anything, but it made breath possible. Mara returned to the leaking window mount and finished the foam line. The hiss faded. The pressure advisory dropped from red to amber, then held. Lenora exhaled. Nursery Bay 2 leak stabilized. Not sealed, stabilized. I will take stabilized. The debris sound faded after another minute, though the alarms continued arguing with one another. The ship's roll dampened. The grow lights flickered twice, then steadied at reduced intensity. In the emergency glow, the nursery looked bruised. A few trays had shifted. Several stems were bent. Nutrient droplets floated like tiny planets between the racks. The fig frame hung crooked, strapped in place with Malik's coil. Mara's foam patch looked like someone had tried to bandage the ship with bread dough. But the air stayed in. The plants stayed rooted. The crew stayed breathing. June opened the all-crew channel. His voice was still calm, but Mara could hear the effort under it now. "Status by station." Lenora answered first. "Environmental stable but degraded. Minor pressure loss controlled in Nursery Bay 2. Coolant routing compromised but isolated." Malik said, "Aft pump stack is offended but functional. I need parts, time, and the universe that makes better choices." Anika said, "Plant cargo damaged but viable. Fig stock secure. I will need 2 hours for a full assessment." Theo looked around the bay, then down at his slate. "Also, 1 tomato remains in custody." Mara almost laughed. June paused just long enough for the joke to land. "Agricultural systems." Mara checked the panel above her. The status bead still showed green. She did not trust it. She trusted the leaves. The basil had turned toward the lamps again. "Agricultural systems are shaken, but alive," she said. "Copy." The channel clicked off, then opened again a second later. Crew. Flight deck is still resolving navigation. We took debris damage across the starboard radiator plane and guidance array. We are not declaring emergency return yet, but NAR's approach is uncertain. No one spoke in the nursery. Mars' approach is uncertain. That was captain language. It meant the destination had become a question. Theo tucked the sample-bagged tomato into a mesh pocket with surprising care. Anika rested one hand against the crooked fig frame. Malik checked the foam patch with a mechanic's frown, as if he planned to intimidate it into better behavior. Lenora stared at her environmental overlays, already building the next hour in her head. Mara looked down the long green bay.
The plants did not know Mars was uncertain. They did not know routes, contracts, insurance codes, or emergency declarations. They knew light, moisture, temperature, pressure, touch. They knew when the world shifted. They knew how to turn toward whatever kept them alive. Maybe that was enough for the moment. The grow grid flickered once more. This time, nobody joked. Mara clipped herself beside the basil trays and opened a new maintenance log. "Agricultural note," she said, recording aloud because her hands were busy. "Following debris impact and temporary light interruption, basil, spinach, and clover groups show coordinated phototropic response toward grid C despite nominal panel status. Recommend manual inspection of upstream power distribution and repeat observation under controlled dimming." Theo drifted nearby. "You are logging plant behavior during a navigation emergency?" The plants noticed first. He considered that, then nodded. "Fair." Mara looked at the basil, its leaves bright under injured light. "Also note," she said, "crew morale improved by 1 confiscated tomato." Theo placed his hand over his heart. "History will vindicate me." From the flight deck, June's voice returned, quieter than before. "All hands, secure for extended diagnostics. We're going to be awake for a while." Mara saved the log. Around her, the verdant mule hummed, wounded but moving. In the nursery bay, under a patched window and a trembling grid of artificial morning, 6 people and thousands of plants carried on breathing together. For now, that was the job.